It has started, thank you. I would like to welcome everyone to today's meeting, and if the fire alarm sounds, please leave the building by the nearest exit and proceed to the assembly area in the car park behind you. The nearest exits are through reception, at the rear of the canteen, or through the doors behind you past the leader's office. You see the exit marks there marked in green. Please note that the Council is webcasting this meeting live on the internet and making an official recording. The recording forms part of the public record of the meeting and will be available on the Council's website. Please choose your words carefully. They have a worldwide range. Can members please ensure mobile phones are turned off and that background noise is kept to a minimum? To help everyone hear clearly, members are asked to remain seated and to speak clearly. Throughout this meeting, the Vice Chairperson will keep a list of members intending to speak during the debates. And the Vice Chairperson will call the next speaker during debates and will announce your microphone number. I should also remind everyone that filming, photography, and recording of this meeting is permitted, provided that it does not disrupt the business of the meeting. If there are any members of the public who do not wish to be filmed or photographed, and you have not already informed a member of staff, please raise your hand now so that any such photographer or cameraman may be aware. Thank you. Contributions to the meeting will be timed in accordance with time limits for debates as laid down in the Constitution. When your time is up, I will ask you to finish the sentence you're on and stop speaking. Thank you. Agenda item 1, apologies for absence. I have received apologies from Councillor Tyler and Watson, and Councillor Davis will be about an hour late. And Councillor Ginman is joining us remotely on Zoom. Are there any other declarations of interest? Yes? Councillor Mike Jones is also apologizing for his absence. Thank you. Declarations of interest. The next item is to receive any declarations of interest by members in respect of items on this agenda. Members who have declared an interest and withdrawn from the meeting will be readmitted once the item has been concluded. Do any members have any interests to declare? I see no hands raised. He's in Tenerife. Thank you. Thank you for giving his apologies then. Councillor Hardwick. Yeah. Item number 3, the minutes. To approve and sign the minutes of the budget meeting of Council held on the 10th of February. No matters of accuracy have been notified to the monitoring officer. Members, are you in agreement with the minutes of the meetings held on the 10th of February? You say, put your hands up, say aye. Thank you. That is passed. Chairman and Chief Executive's announcements, item number 4. Please find attached the Chairman and Chief Executive's announcements from page 29 on the agenda. I have just a few words to say about my outings. You might see the Café Muse, which takes place in the Courtyard Theatre, and it is an astounding and wonderful experience, really. 2 outstanding musicians help with this matter for people with dementia and other problems, and many of them are also veterans as well. And the reaction and interaction between the musicians and the people there attending is very, very impressive. And it is one of the outreach services provided by the Courtyard Theatre, and it is a very welcome one too. I was also amazed to see that one of the attendees, who hadn't spoken perhaps for 18 months, that morning burst into song. And it was very moving to see this thing happening. And then this week, we were at Your Army at Hereford Racecourse, an outstanding and interesting presentation by the Army engagement team, ranging from a full colonel to a corporal, all of whom, without exception, performed brilliantly. As a matter of interest, the Army is the leading supplier and source of apprenticeships, offering 5,000 plus apprenticeships every year. They have been the champion apprentice providers the last 5 years. And they do certainly give you a very good education and a huge range of skills which are useful in all aspects of your life, before, during, and after the Army, basically. Item 5, questions from members of the public. There have been 7 questions submitted under this item. The questions and responses have been published as a supplement on the 2nd of March. A supplementary question must be a question and not a statement, and it must also arise directly out of the original question or the reply, and must take no longer than 1 minute to ask. If the question is likely to exceed 1 minute, or it takes the form of a statement, the questioner will be requested to put the question immediately. First question, number 1, Mr. Fisher. I have a supplementary question to read, and it is for the Cabinet Member for Infrastructure and Transport. Will the Council commit to providing 6 monthly progress reports to the Ramblers and to the Local Access Forum on dealing with the backlog of applications to be determined and the equally concerning delays in making the necessary orders once applications have been determined? Councillor. Which number is this?
Number 6.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, well, I think we can provide them for everyone rather than the Ramblers and the LAF members. I think it's reasonable to have a portal somewhere, and we'll ensure we're going to do that. The issue we have with the DMMOs is because we had the 2026 CRO Act cut-off date, CRO Act was in 2000, people were trying to get all sorts of routes onto the map that may be lost. That deadline has now been lifted, and hopefully forever, so that we don't have that same pressure. So I'm hoping that the applications coming in will slow down and we can concentrate on putting infrastructure on the ground and not spending an awful lot of money processing orders, which is important, but we have to balance our statutory duties with our resources. There's 10,000 DMMOs sitting in councils across the country. We're all struggling to do it, but we will keep people informed.
Thank you very much. Ms. Davis, are you here? No supplementary being required there. Thank you. Ms. Searle, are you here? No supplementary so far. Mr. McGowan, a question for the leader, I believe. What actual or intended hoped-for benefits to Herefordshire came from the action of David Hitchener as leader of Herefordshire Council, making the pledge to UK 100 Cities Network Limited, and where, how, can a Herefordshire resident, a simple man such as myself, easily find full details of this pledge action and its intended consequences in Herefordshire Council's information records or archives? Leader.
Thank you for your question. Can you hear me? Yeah. The UK 100 is a network of local government leaders which seeks to devise and implement plans for the transition to clean energy that are ambitious, cost-effective, and take the public and business with them. It supports decision makers in UK towns, cities and counties in their transition to net zero. It claims to be the only network for UK local leaders focused solely on climate, clean energy and clean air policy. Benefits accrue through networking with other council leaders. The same could be said of other organisations such as the County Council Network and the Rural Services Network, although these are ones to whom a fee is paid. No fee is paid to UK 100, and I have to admit that my attendance at meetings with them has been very limited due to other demands on my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. The next question is from Ms. Curry, and I shall read her question. Can the Cabinet member please advise if the friendships between at least one of the panel members and two of external persons appointed to help improve children's services were declared when the independent commission idea was suggested? Councillor Toynbee, I believe.
Number 7.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. There are naturally a limited number of people working at this very high level in the country, and they're very much in demand. As professionals, their friendships are not relevant to appointments, and I'm very confident that any friendships don't get in the way of their work. I'm very pleased that the Commissioner has appointed such an experienced panel, and I'm very pleased that it's completely independent of the Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, final question from Ms. Reid. The response included, pending the terms of reference being finalised, no decision has yet been taken concerning which cases should be included. However, families, including adoption cases, have received letters with appointments to speak to the Commission's panel, including terms of reference, parameters, including parameter 11. If families participate in the panel, there will be the expectation that they will not raise the same issues as a public question at future council meetings. 3 times I have submitted public questions about unsatisfactory responses to them, but no responses. There are no responses to, I think, 4 public questions, the 28th, 2nd, 23rd Children's Scrutiny Committee meeting. A family representative should be on the panel. Testifying family members should be allowed more than a supporter. It's a duty of care. Will adoption cases, including legacy cases, be reviewed as repeatedly promised? Councillor.
Number 7.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, there's a lot in there. We have asked, addressing the first question, we have asked the Commissioner and the Safeguarding Partnership to reflect on our feedback and on feedback from families about the original terms of reference. And I'm very pleased that the paragraph has been removed, which refers to future attendance at public council meetings. As far as observers to the panel are concerned, this will now be limited to just the independent scrutineer of the Safeguarding Partnership, with Eleanor Brazil attending to support the work of the panel. So, as I mentioned in my previous response, it is completely independent from the Council. The panel cannot review adoption cases as they have no jurisdiction over court orders. As far as public questions posed to the Scrutiny Committee earlier this week, yes, the chair of the committee issued a statement about this and apologised that the questions had not got through the system as fast as they should have to prepare responses, and I echo that apology, and I'm assured that responses are being prepared. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Potts, are you present? Thank you. You are not forgotten.
Thank you. Is this working? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Given it is now 6 months since the publication of the damning Ofsted report, which placed the local authority you lead as inadequate on every single criteria, can the leader outline what measures he recognises have yet to take place, which will give Ofsted, the families and the children you have failed the confidence that Herefordshire has indeed turned a corner and is once again capable of protecting children in its care?
Leader, I believe you.
I think, Mr. Potts, you have a right to a supplemental question. You've repeated your main question, which has been replied to in writing. Yes, please. Yes.
A supplementary now?
No,
That's it.
my supplementary is, surely you don't have to be a looked after child like me, myself, to realise that the confidence in this authority has gone, and unless you replace your current cabinet member, the confidence will never be restored. When will you replace her, and when will things get better?
Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Potts. We do need to regain the confidence of the children in the county. We need continuity. I have full confidence in the cabinet member. She's been working tirelessly over the last year, 18 months, and working together with the director to improve things. And I think we need to be involved in continuity. The report from the Commissioner, she has required specific milestones to be met within the next 3 and 6 months, and now is not the time to be making changes. I think we need to be working together, which we have been doing. And as you will see from the report, it is a damning report, but the Commissioner does see some green shoots, and we must be fostering and encouraging those green shoots to continue. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. We now come to item number 6, questions from members of the Council. There have been 3 questions submitted under this item. The questions and responses have been published as a supplement on the 2nd of March. Please ensure you pose a question and not make a statement. Councillor Durkin, Hereford Bid, I believe, to the
Number
leader.
3.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Leader, for your response, but I still remain concerned that despite the bid and ballot announcement in December 2021 and the start of the commencement date, that levy bills were not sent out within the year as required by the law and have still not been sent out. Also, concerns relating to perhaps the backdating of a levy. In addition to the circa of £500,000 spent overall by both bid parties on a number of consultants and staff to get this far, including opinions from King's Council, how much of the taxpayer of Herefordshire paid for this project? Will the Leader assure me that as the authorities are able to lawfully demand a bid levy, that the bid arrangements are currently fully compliant with the requirements of the Bid Act and associated regulations? In addition, to inform why the answer to my question and why it was necessary to obtain opinion from King's Council and thus to publish the King's Council's opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Durkin. There are a number of questions within that. The Council has been keen to support this project. It is very important for the county. The county has provided a loan to enable this to get off the ground, and that loan remains as a loan. In order to make absolutely sure that the law has been complied with, the council decided to take advice from council, which remains confidential, and it gives the assurance which the council needs to enable it to present the bills, which I believe will be sent out fairly shortly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Point of order there.
No, not allowed anymore. Sorry. Number 2, Councillor Shaw, staff vacancies. Finance, Corporate Services and Planning, Councillor Harvey. Councillor Shaw? What is the number?
Number 14.
Number 14.
Thank you for the answer, which suggests that there are in the region of 260 vacancies in the council. You state that 177 vacancies are actively being recruited into. I was concerned that this morning on Hoople there are only 26 live vacancies identified on the council's Hoople vacancies site, and no permanent replacements or interims, no acting directors' posts are mentioned. Staffing the council has become a most insidious strategic risk to the council, effectively paralysing activity in some areas and putting increased pressure on remaining staff. Will the Cabinet member take steps to ensure that all current vacancies are advertised actively and to be recruited into? And will the Chief Executive consider actions he can take to have daily visibility on the trend in vacancies? Councillors may expect the approach to strategic risks to be visited by the Audit and Governance Committee in its next meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Harvey.
Number 5.
Yes.
That's it? Thank you. Councillor Hewitt, question number 3, advice to schools, children and families. Councillor Toynbee, I think. Can we have Councillor Hewitt's number, please?
Number 24.
Thank you.
Sorry, am I meant to be reading out my original question?
You have no supplementary.
No, I do have a supplementary.
Well, your chance now.
Yeah. Okay. So my supplementary is, can the Cabinet member assure me that, to her knowledge, no victim of peer-on-peer abuse in this county has had to pay twice by remaining in the school with their perpetrator despite the best efforts of the school? And I'd like to put a caveat on this because I know very, very well that our children's services are doing their utmost in this area, and I have full confidence that they do their absolute best to address these issues. But nationally, in the 2021 review, rapid review, it was stated that there is a problem for schools in this area, and I would like her to assure me that in this county, unlike the rest of the country, we actually do better, and no child has, in her tenure, been in that situation.
Thank you.
Number 7.
Number 7, please.
Yes, thank you for the question. I agree it is a national issue, and I have very frequent conversations about it with schools, with colleagues around the country. As far as the specific question is concerned, naturally, I can't give that sort of assurance in a public meeting. It would be really irresponsible to do so. Thank you.
It's very difficult here. Can we have the volume up for Councillor Toynbee?
My response was that yes, it is a national issue, and I take a close interest in it, and I have frequent conversations with schools and DSLs and colleagues around the country about it. As far as that very specific question is concerned, it would be irresponsible of me to give a yes or no answer to that in a public meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Can people take note of that and make sure you speak close to the microphone and become thoroughly audible? Sorry?
Yeah, we turned it up.
Right. Has it been? Yes.
Yeah, we've turned it up because it's cold.
Right. Well, it's either being a little bit cold or being audible. Better to be audible, perhaps. I don't know. We'll see how we get on. We hope we'll manage better now. Well, aren't you lucky? Thank you. Item number 7, 2023-24 Council Tax Setting Report, pages 33 to 52. To set the council tax and precepts for 2023-24. Please find the report from page 33 in the agenda pack, and please note the supplement published on the 2nd of March. The recommendations that we put to the vote are contained in the supplement. The Cabinet Member, Finance, Corporate Services and Planning will move and introduce the report, for which he has 5 minutes.
Councillor Harvey, number 5.
Thank you, Chairman. Can you hear me at the back? Yes. Brilliant. At its meeting on the 10th of February 2023, the Council approved the net budget requirement for 2023-24 at 194 million and an associated council tax requirement of 127 million on a tax base of 71,073.11 Band D equivalent properties. As the billing authority, this report seeks approval for council tax amounts for each category of dwelling in Herefordshire, including precepts for West Mercia Police, Hereford and Worcester Fire Authority, and Herefordshire Town and Hereford Town and Herefordshire Parish Councils for the financial year 2023-24. Apologies, Hereford City and Herefordshire Parish Councils. Within that, the police are requesting a total precept from Herefordshire Council of £18,798,837.59. The Band D council tax charge amounts to £264.50 for the police, which is an increase of £14.84 or 5.94% over the previous year. The Fire Authority is requesting a precept from Herefordshire Council of £6,709,561.77, and the Band D council tax charge for the Fire Authority amounts to £94.40, which is an increase of £5 or 5.59% over the previous year. For the parishes, the average parish precept has risen by 6.2%, with 24 parishes increasing their precept by at least the level of present inflation of 10%, and 44 councils raising their precept by at least 4.99% alongside the County Council. I'd like to take a moment to say a little bit about parish councils. Over our term in office, we've worked hard to improve engagement with our parish councils and to find ways to work collaboratively to continue to deliver services that our residents value. As always, there is more that we can do to strengthen that local government relationship, but we need our parish councils to be strong and to be vibrant and to be willing and able to work with us. I commend those parishes which have taken up the opportunity for funding under the Lengtsman scheme and for those working with us on maintaining and improving footpaths and drainage. Parishes which have come together in groupings to share their running costs are also to be congratulated, as are the larger village and market town parishes which have taken up asset transfer opportunities and are helping to support third sector organisations, talk community hubs, and local community transport and support groups in their areas. Every pound of a parish precept stays in that parish, so residents can be assured that if your parish is putting up its precept, it's doing so in order to be a better servant to its residents, and I hope that service is recognised and appreciated. It's an unsung role being a parish councillor, and with the local elections coming up, more than a third of our parishes not having had full-term elections in more than a generation, I'd like to encourage anyone listening to consider whether they have the skills and commitment to put themselves forward as a parish councillor in the service of their community. If you want to find out more about what's involved in being a parish councillor, there's information available on this council's website and also on the websites of the National Local Association of Councils and the Local Government Association. And I'd like to commend the report and the precepts requested by all precepting authorities to this meeting.
Thank you. And now the report needs to be seconded. I believe the leader will second the report. Am I correct?
Correct, Chair.
Thank you. Leader, do you wish to speak now or after the debate?
After the debate.
Thank you. Well, we now move to the debate. Members are entitled to speak once during the debate for 3 minutes. And the Vice Chairperson will be keeping a list of members who wish to speak during the debate. Please can members indicate to the Vice Chairperson if they intend to speak. Do we have any?
Councillor James, number 11.
Thank you, Chairman. This is the annual not getting it quite right, where we think we should be debating something that is not for debate. This is a technical matter. The debate took place at the last meeting.
Quite.
about the precept. I didn't support the council's part, but it's not for us to be patronising about whether the parish is the fire authority and the police authority. Police precepts should be added to our... What are we going to do? What purpose does the debate serve in this context? We are here just technically. I mean, I know there's been lobbying over many years to do away with this because it's merely a technical matter and it has to be passed. There's no alternative. End of story.
Thank you. Do we have any others who wish to speak?
No,
Councillor...
Chairman.
Is that it?
Councillor Marsh?
Councillor Marsh? No? I think then, Leader, your seconding of the whole matter, please.
Yes, I'm pleased to second this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Cabinet Member Finance, Corporate Services and Planning will now close the debate.
Number 5, Councillor
3
Harvey.
minutes, if you need it.
Hopefully I can take up less time than that. It's sort of ironic that the only member to speak in debate was speaking against the need to debate. But in closing this session, I agree with Councillor James. This is we are where we are moment. Everybody's chosen what their precepts are to be, and this is a formal decision to implement them, and that's it and all about it.
Thank you. The Cabinet Member has said her words, and now we move to the vote. I introduce the Monitoring Officer to conduct a recorded vote. Please note the recommendations contained in the report. They're on the screen, I believe?
No, they're not on the screen.
Not on the screen?
No.
They're in your pack at any rate, and I think there's plenty of them to look at. I'm sure you all read them before. Yes, Councillor Phillips.
Number 1, Councillor Phillips.
Can the monitoring officer inform me that if we don't vote for this today and go through, that it will be legally impossible for these organisations to actually financially function from the 1st of April? My understanding was, as a locally elected member, we had a legal obligation, and if we are committed to children's services, then we have to make sure that there's a budget for them on the 1st. This is not a political debate, this is a matter of technicality.
If we move to the vote.
I think we'll move to the vote now, but thank you for your contribution. Right.
If members could indicate whether they are for the recommendations, against, or they wish to abstain. Councillor Graham Andrews. Councillor Paul Andrews. Councillor Polly Andrews. Councillor Bartlett. Councillor Bartram. Councillor Balderson. Abstain. Councillor Bolter.
4.
Councillor Bowen.
4.
Councillor Bowes. 4. Councillor Chowns. Councillor Crockett. Councillor Gemma Davis. Councillor Claire Davis. 4. Councillor Durkin.
Abstain.
Councillor Fagan. 4. Councillor Foxton.
Not here.
Councillor Gandy. Councillor Guthrie.
Abstain.
Councillor Harrington.
4.
Councillor Harvey.
4.
Councillor Hewitt.
Councillor Hewitt?
4. Councillor Hay. 4. Councillor Hitchener.
4.
Councillor Helms.
Councillor Howells?
Oh, sorry. 4. Councillor Ianson. Councillor James. 4. Councillor Johnson. Councillor Graham Jones. 4. Councillor Kenyon.
Against.
Councillor Lester.
Abstain.
Councillor Marsh.
4.
Councillor Matthews.
Abstain.
Councillor Millmore.
Abstain.
Councillor Milne.
4.
Councillor Norman. 4. Councillor Phillips.
4.
Councillor Price. Councillor Probert. Abstain. Councillor Roan.
Abstain.
Councillor Shaw.
Abstain.
Councillor Stark.
4.
Councillor Stone.
Abstain.
Councillor Summers.
Or
Councillor Swinglehurst.
Abstain.
Councillor Simons.
For.
Councillor Tillett.
For.
Councillor Toynbee.
For.
Councillor Wilding.
Aft. Or daft.
Have you counted already? He didn't vote, no, didn't say anything. Yeah, no, he didn't say anything. Yeah, that's his problem. Yeah, no, we don't. Absolutely not. 1, 14.
That motion is...
Didn't say anything, so we don't include anything. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, hold on, mate. Yeah, no, that's it. We go with it. 30. Yeah, sorry.
That motion is carried for 4, 30, against 1, abstain 14. Thank you. We now come to item number 9, appointing deputy electoral registration officers, pages 59.
You missed item 8. Sorry. That's all right.
My apologies. Item 8.
You're too keen.
Far too keen. Yeah, my apologies. We're not in that much of a hurry. Appointments to council committees and outside bodies, pages 53 to 58. To make appointments to the committees of the council and outside bodies in line with the rules of political proportionality, please find the report from page 53. I will propose the recommendations. Please can I have a seconder? And does the seconder wish to speak? Leader, will you be my seconder?
I'm happy to second, yeah.
Thank you very much. And do you wish to speak? No. No. Any people wishing to make any comments? No. Now we move to the vote. The recommendations in the report have been moved. Members are asked to clearly raise their hand to indicate if they are for, against, or abstain for the motion. All in favour? Raise your hands. Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. And now we do come to item 9, appointing deputy electoral registration officers, pages 59 to 62. To appoint, yes, please find the report on page 59, and I will propose the recommendation. Please can I have a seconder? Does the seconder wish to speak? Councillor Hitchener, will you second it?
Happy to second. Yeah.
Thank you. And before moving to the vote, please can members indicate if they wish to speak under this item? No? Oh, you do. Well, Councillor Shaw.
Number 14, Councillor Shaw.
Can we, as councillors, be advised what training these officers have to perform their duties?
I can do that. I'll do that. Not now. I'll have a chat afterwards.
Right. You'll be informed of that after the council meeting, and perhaps you might write a note to all councillors.
Absolutely.
I think that'd be wise and proper. Any other speakers? And now we move to the vote. The recommendation in the report has been moved. Councillor Rowan.
Shaw's question and legal advice. So we're going to appoint...
Right, number 13, Councillor Rowan.
Microphone.
Yeah, just to follow up Councillor Shaw's question and legal advice, we're about to vote and appoint people who are not allowed to know what their qualifications are. Is that right?
No, not quite. Will you say a little something about that, please?
All staff within the all staff within electoral services undertake this role, and they're very skilled and experienced in this. They're appointed now. They're members of council staff now, so they are more than skilled in order to carry out this task.
I think we can be reassured that they've
It would not be appropriate to go into each person individually. I'm assuring you as the Deputy Returning Officer that these staff are completely skilled and experienced in order to undertake this role. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So, coming to the vote, Members are asked to clearly raise their hand to indicate if they are for, against, or abstain from the motion. All in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Now, item 10, the Leader's Report. To receive a report from the Leader on the activities of the Executive, the Cabinet, since the budget meeting of Council on the 9th of December 2022. Please find the Leader's Report on from page 63. I invite the Leader to present the report and to respond to any questions arising, for which he has 5 minutes. Leader?
Thank you, Chair. I don't think I need to comment on any additional items on this, and I'll pass over to councillors for the final entertainment for this morning. Well, thank you, Councillor Gandy.
Members are reminded that they may ask 3 questions altogether upon the whole of this report, but there will be no debate on matters contained in it. I remind members that this is an opportunity to ask a question of the Leader. I repeat, this is an opportunity to ask a question, not to make a statement. Given the number of topics in the Leader's Report, I will allow questions of up to a minute in length. I will go through each of the topic headings from the Leader's Report and ask for speakers under each topic. The Vice Chairperson will be keeping a list of members who wish to speak under each topic and each topic heading. Please can members indicate to the Vice Chairperson if they intend to speak. And remember, you have 3 minutes each, and it's a question, not a statement. So, can members indicate if they have any questions on the topic 1, Cabinet Commission Progress Report on page 64? Right. The Vice Chairperson is taking your names and numbers.
Where's Councillor Kenyon? You had your hand up late. Oh, no.
Can't hear.
Number,
nothing to be heard. Right.
Thank you. Councillor Swinglehurst, number 12.
Councillor Swinglehurst.
Thank you. Would the Leader agree with me that the solutions to the problems of the river will require a high degree of collaboration with all stakeholders, including the groups of citizen scientists and campaigners? And will he undertake to ensure that they are given equal access and opportunity for input as other stakeholders as the Cabinet Commission progresses?
Leader.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Swinglehurst. I think hopefully a feature of this administration has been the way we have reached out and consulted with other groups. I would hope the councillors would have moved in that direction generally. So my immediate response is absolutely we will be consulting as wide as possible because this is such an important issue for the whole county. The chair of the commission, Councillor Harvey, is here. She is the one who can probably speak more eloquently and give you a little bit more detail.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Councillor Lester, number 4.
Sorry, Chair, I wonder whether Councillor Harvey might be given the opportunity to elaborate a little bit on that answer.
Yes.
Yeah, she can speak normally.
Yep. Councillor Harvey.
Councillor Harvey.
You can be normally, yes, yes, but on the list.
Yeah, just...
wait your turn, please. Do you don't mind? We'll all remember the words.
So, Councillor Lester, number 4.
You'll take your turn. Please.
The next speaker is Councillor Lester, number 4.
Thank you, Chairman. Given that it's the Leader's report, I think it's really important that if questions are raised to the Leader of the Council, it's the Leader of the Council that answers the direct question. In the wake of yesterday's Cabinet meeting, where some Cabinet members could not vote in favour of the proposed initiatives to progress the workings of the Cabinet Commission, does the Leader of the Council accept that this illustrates that if you fail to consult adequately interested stakeholders properly, and you're not crystal clear on what decisions you're going to make, the danger will be that more money will be wasted due to a lack of direction?
Thank you.
Chairman, I think there's an initial statement from Councillor Lester requiring me to answer all the questions. That's not been the practice over the last 4 years while I have been leader, and I'm led to believe it wasn't the practice when he was leader either. So I would ask that other portfolio members be allowed to answer certain questions. I think this might be a constitutional issue, which I have asked in the past to be formalised within the Constitution, but there hasn't been agreement to that when that's gone to the group leaders. So maybe this should be something which should be addressed at the beginning of the next administration to sort out exactly who should deal with these sorts of questions. Thank you. So that's the introductory.
Thank you. Do you want more to say?
But the main question from Councillor Lester about consultation, I think consultation is continuing. No decision has been made, and I think it's very important that the Council is given an update, or the Cabinet provides an update. That was the original promise. That's what we have done, and we now move forward with continued consultation. There were other subjects on the topic of that particular Cabinet meeting. We've provided an extensive city master plan, and that is going out to consultation in exactly the same way. We are not going ahead saying this is the way we're going to be doing things. We are consulting and talking. Big issues like that require a lot of time. I think someone suggested to me this morning that actually we're a generation before the phosphates are removed from the river. So whilst not belittling the speed with which we ought to be acting, it is a long-term issue for the whole of the county and has been going on for far too long.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Is Councillor Phillips, number 1.
Councillor Phillips.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I think proper and timely and honest engagement with all stakeholders is what's required. We've been briefed on this very important subject, and I think particularly the engagement with the farming industry needs to be clear about the massive destocking that is expected within the catchment area. Reference was made to a reduction in cattle numbers of 40%, sheep of over 30%. Now, to me, if that is what is the thinking, then that really has to be brought out, because it will certainly should get the engagement of the sector. But clearly, something like that is a huge, big change to that industry. We have to make sure, of course, that we work with the other stakeholders as well on that. But I do recommend that that honesty in engagement is done. And where there are transparent figures like that that are lurking around, they do need to be transparent in those discussions.
Thank you.
Chairman, I didn't detect a question there.
Well, I was wondering about that too. I think it was an implied question.
But I will exercise my discretion to ask Councillor Harvey to comment on that. Thank you.
Not now. She has a turn later on when in her turn. Councillor Harvey. Not Councillor Harvey. Councillor, who was it next?
So, Councillor Hewitt.
Councillor Hewitt, not Harvey.
Number 24. Thank you.
Leader, my question is similar to other questions that have been asked, and it's around producing the pearl and the oyster. My understanding that the production of that requires the grit. Now, if the publicity going out about consultation is only with a small sector that have an economic interest in the river, and that in those publicity photographs you don't have other bodies who are interested in the voice of nature, then our river is still going to be under threat. We absolutely need to understand that we have one of the biggest biodiversity nature corridors in the country, with the Y, and that all parties need to be present in the publicity pictures which are out in the press.
Is that, what is your
And the
question,
question
actually?
was,
What is your
please,
actual question?
can we make sure that that happens?
Councillor? Peter?
Perhaps I could ask for a little guidance from the monitoring officer about when I can ask other cabinet members to provide.
I think we're going to decide that we should perhaps have each section, all the questions put, and then you can answer them all in one. And if you need help, then we'll allow you to have help. Might be the easiest way to do it for you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may help you and Council, going forward now with this item, so with the next paragraph, if everybody poses their question and then the leader can respond and or together with the relevant portfolio holder, because otherwise the flow and everybody's getting a little bit confused. So when we come to the next heading, you can pose your questions, take all the questions, and then the leader can respond to those, and so can the portfolio holder. Those two will be the last two people that speak on that particular paragraph. I hope that makes sense to everybody and helps the flow of the meeting. Is that satisfactory, Chairman?
I think that's satisfactory, and I'm sure the leader can take a few notes as he goes along. Good, thank you. Do we have any more questions on item number 1?
Councillor Harvey, number 5.
Councillor Harvey, you're the last one to speak.
No, I'm not speaking. I'm supposed to be answering. I was indicating to answer the question.
Well,
So-
you can answer that now then, please.
So I can do that now, can I?
Yes, you may, please.
Great. Okay. Well, to follow up on the leader's response, we are absolutely in the Commission engaging with, consulting with, and taking input from citizen science, friends of the upper and lower Wye, friends of all the different sorts of fish in the river, the environmental groups, and other interested parties. It's quite difficult to get everybody even in a Zoom room, though. So we have been trying since early in January to have a meeting with that group, and actually succeeded in doing so this week. So it was unfortunate timing in the context of the report coming to Cabinet, but that meeting did take place, and what I've requested is that there will be a regular set of diarised meetings so that it's going to be easier to get people in a room in future. So, you know, the voice of that community is really important, and will be most absolutely part of the process going forward. It's just been a shame that it's been difficult to get that discussion and involvement started, but now it's started, I'm determined it will continue. And Councillor Phillips, on the subject of destocking, I know there's a lot of talk about what might be needed in the farming community in order to deal with the issue of phosphate pollution and changes to farming techniques. I'm not aware that anything has been determined, and I think there are just lots of suggestions at this stage as to things that might be explored, and I think we're very much at that exploration stage, but the farming community is very much engaged on this and is leading in its appropriate, you know, sort of subject matter expert areas. And I'd like to take the opportunity to say a big thank you to everybody in the farming community who has been so engaged and concerned and willing to participate in, you know, helping to understand the problems here and what the opportunities are to resolve them.
Thank you.
Chairman, may I add?
Yes.
There has been engagement. I would like to publicly acknowledge the work that's been done by officers to move this forward in the last 2 or 3 months. It really has been an extraordinary effort, and communication in particular with other councillors in Paris and Monmouthshire I think, and working with DEFRA and all the other agencies. There are so many interests out there that to keep all these balls going in the air has been an extraordinary effort. So I would like to thank the officers for their extraordinary work in progressing this really important work to us. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that is item 1 covered. Item 2, Children's Improvement Plan, page 65. Councillor Kenyon.
Chairman, I had Councillor Ianson first on the list, number 2.
Councillor Kenyon.
No, she indicated first.
Right. It's fine.
Is that me or,
Yes,
or
you.
Councillor Kenyon?
Councillor Ianson,
Yes.
on you go.
Yes.
Councillor Ianson, all yours.
She has the list. Number 10. Should I just shout?
Just speak close to your microphone.
I'm speaking close to it. As the Children's Commissioner's report is now published, does the leader feel that he would personally like to add anything to this item? Thank you.
Right, next questioner.
Councillor Kenyon, number 24. No, sorry, number 27.
Good to go. Good to go.
This is a serious matter, this improvement plan. I've just emailed you all a motion I put forward in 2019 to do with continuity. The leader spoke about continuity right at the beginning of this meeting within children's services. That offered a way of continuity. I hope leaders going forward resolutely reads it and implements it. So I think it's a blue sky thinking that Eleanor Brazil would have thought, okay, good.
Question?
Spending in 2019 on children's services around about 26 million. I may be wrong, but it's around about that figure. And the Ofsted report they were was good. It did say that no children were at risk of significant harm. In 2013 and 2023, we spent 50+ million. It's been spent.
Can we please have the question?
Yes, I'm getting to it.
Do it now, please. You're ending your minute any moment.
What's your problem with me?
You have a limited time.
So please do me the same. So in 2023, 50+ million has been spent on children's services, and it's at risk. Children are at risk in special measures. Social workers, I feel, are coming to Hereford in a mercenary type way, and it undermines the workforce.
Come on.
They're working, and if someone's coming in getting paid for 3 minutes, the same job, that's what you create.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
When we can start to grow and train our own, because that's the only way forward. And what's happening at the moment isn't good enough. So, coming to my question,
They do that 3
this week, a court case is adjourned because the local authority hasn't provided information in an accurate and timely manner. How much does that cost our little daily court? How much does that cost us?
Leader, you've noted that, I hope? No, I'm just saying you've noted it, haven't you?
You're going to take all the questions.
Yeah, yes, I know. Just making sure the notes are being taken.
Next
Right.
speaker, Councillor Phillips, number 1.
Thank you, Chairman. Would the leader consider with me the concern that you have to be constantly vigilant about the priority of children's services? And when Eleanor Brazil is in the room, I have no doubt, as we had in the briefing with members this week, in that confidence. However, I then saw the letter that the Chief Executive had written to all the parish councils. And I began to say to myself, hang on, was this the same issue that I was looking at? Whilst there was linkages to the report and to the statutory notice, there was no mention of the fact that we had failed to continue to reach the issue of capacity and capability, and that we would constantly have to have a partner, which I actually see as a positive thing to taking us forward. If you're going to be honest about taking this forward and really getting sustained improvement, you have to be clear and honest about where we are. There's no shame in saying that we're going to have to work with a partner, because I think actually as an elected member and representing my community, I'm pleased to say that, because I think that gives me the confidence and my community the confidence. So please do that. And supplementary, can I just say, the answer to my question on the 10th of December to this council, I had to repeatedly ask the cabinet member had to go back to her staff. If we can't get an honest answer to a question of full council, that again starts to question, are we really going to get sustained improvement in this service? So I do urge the leader to keep that honesty and genuineness, to keep this pushing.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Councillor Matthews, number 23.
Councillor Matthews.
Just very briefly, recently members were informed that a number of social workers, mainly agency staff, were working from home up to 70 or 80 miles away from the county. What has been done to address this issue, and what is the present situation?
Thank you very much. Next one.
Next speaker, Councillor Howells, number 10.
Councillor Howells.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it's a question on point 9. We now know, of course, that the Commissioner's report has said that we need to be working with another authority. And I know it's really early days, but this is not unexpected that this could happen. So I'd just like to know what progress is being made to identify, or if we know already, which local authorities we might be working with. And I see we've got 7 delivery boards at the moment across the 10 areas, which are obviously chaired by our own cabinet members. But I imagine that working with another authority, if it's just one, then those delivery boards will change. Presumably we'll bring in particular areas of expertise from other authorities that could help. So I'd just like to know what we've done towards planning for working in transition with another authority, which might affect the delivery boards. I realise it's early days, but this is the last meeting we've got before the next administration. So at the very least, could we have some reassurance that we're advised when we're working, who we're working with, and how we anticipate the delivery boards might change as a result of talking with another authority? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Next speaker, Councillor Stark, number 20.
Councillor Stark.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. My question to the Leader is around key performance measures for the Improvement Board. As the Leader knows, I have raised this issue in the past with their members and with their officers. My problem here is that we are pouring huge amounts of funds into trying to improve children's services, but I need to see the evidence that we are actually getting outcomes from that particular Improvement Board that is actually going to be value for money for the money that we are pouring in. So can the Leader give us an update on where we are with key performance measures to judge the effectiveness of the Improvement Board?
Thank you.
Next speaker, Councillor Gemma Davis, number 5.
Thank you. Regarding this particular report and some of the improvement boards and the improvement commissions and all of the different various groups that we've got trying to help us through this journey, quite often I think that the voice of the actual child is missed. So I see that ever more present in today as a really good example. I don't see a young person. I'm the youngest councillor here, and we're all talking about children's services. I think that we're missing a trick of getting children involved in democracy when we are making decisions that affect their lives. Would the Leader consider proposing for future or the next administration, whoever that shall be, of pulling together a group of young people that could work with Cabinet and the Leader to help us form our decisions as soon as it affects them considerably?
Thank you. Do you have any more?
Yes, Chairman. Next speaker, Councillor James, number 11.
Councillor James.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just say that I welcome the fact that the clause 11 that was in the original document sent to families has been dropped, because they were very angry about that and considered it to be a stifling clause on free speech. But what we have to do now is realise that things have been badly done and we need to clear up the mess that has gone on. And the attitude of we mustn't speak about individual cases, whilst we mustn't name individual cases, is a nonsense. We have seen some terrible things done in the name of this council. done by officers, not by members. It was officers who turned off the life support machine. It was officers who adopted twins separately, not the members, not the cabinet members. And if it wasn't for members and judges, we still today wouldn't know about that. So can we get to a point where there's more openness about it? And I understand that now recently laws have been passed about that many of the family courts now will be open to reporters being present to report many of the proceedings within family courts. Is it not time that we realised when we make mistakes that we own up to it, not try to sweep it under the carpet? And can we also not have a process when full council is more about stopping people making statements, and it's more about protecting the establishment than actually about openness and free speech? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any more speakers on this topic?
No further speakers,
Thank you.
Chairman.
Well, Leader, we will now ask you to respond, and you may have help from your cabinet member, where appropriate.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jansen, do you mind just refreshing me about the beginning of your question, if you can remember, please?
As the report is now published, do you have anything that you would like to add to your report?
Okay, thank you. Do I have anything? We've made public statements about the report, and we obviously welcome the Commissioner's contribution, and her report is a very full report. I think having seen it for several weeks, I think every time I reread it, I'm shocked to see how the council has actually been dealing with this problem over a long period. I think we all acknowledge, I hope we all acknowledge now, it is over a long period. It's not just something which has suddenly come across. And we must move forward. The one encouraging thing about the report is that the Commissioner is saying, yes, you know, you're in a pretty bad way, but actually I do see some green shoots. I'm willing to actually recommend to the Minister that you should keep it, but with some support. One of the questions I've been asked is about what movement we have had towards engaging with another council. I think we must engage with another council. I think that's a really helpful part of the report. We don't know what good looks like, and by getting other people for other councils to come in and help us, we can see what is good. Eleanor Brazil has mentioned that we should be twinned with or linked with a council which is either good or outstanding. So any council which is lower grade than that, it cannot be considered. So at the moment, if I can say, Worcestershire is not in that category. I mean, if they suddenly became an outstanding authority, I think that might be of interest. But for any authority that's approached, their problem is they're very good, but by drawing resources away from their own council towards Herefordshire, it might detract from what they're doing. So you have to find a particular one. One of the councils which has been approached, I really don't know what the current state of discussions are, is Leeds. Leeds have a special unit of staff who they can allocate to other councils. I'm sure there are other councils that are equally demanding compared to Herefordshire. Solihull is an obvious example where they may well be concentrating their efforts there. So we have to see how things work out. We've got Eleanor Brazil working with us in the meantime. We've got Jane Ludlam, who's come from Sheffield. I'm very impressed with the meetings I've been with her and the work she is doing, engaging with social workers. So lots to say in a way, Helen. I'm encouraged that things are moving forward. I'm encouraged that we've retained control. We've got clear targets to meet, and I do think that is the difference this time. We know what we've got to do, and we know the consequences if we don't actually meet up with that. The big problem is recruitment. encouraging people to come here, believing, you know, that as a council we're very welcoming. I do not welcome the sort of comments that Councillor Kenyon has made about mercenary workers. I think that is appalling for a councillor to say that sort of thing in public.
Quiet, please.
We should be as councillors encouraging people to think that we're a receptive council, that people can come here and they don't expect rude comments like that being made to them. If I move on then to Councillor Phillips, the Chief Executive and I are not in denial. I think if the message is getting out that we are denying what's happening, I think that's unfortunate. It certainly isn't the case. We've been the ones who have actually said, yeah, there are problems here. We're not hiding, and we need to be open and honest. And I'm not quite sure of the position of the Chief Executive, whether he's allowed to comment on that. And that, in a way, links me a little bit to the point made by Councillor James, who again has been very critical of officers. The problem with being an officer is you're not allowed to respond to criticism. I mean, if you want to start criticising the officers, you've got to give them the right, I think, to respond. And that would be a big change in the Constitution. So I would caution Councillor James about him being so critical in public. He can do so in private. He's had meetings with the Chief Executive and talked about individual officers, and there is that avenue open for him. I think if he wants to change everything in the future, it's a much bigger debate, and maybe we should be having that at the beginning of the next council. Councillor Matthews, he's asked about councillors who are working, social workers who are working outside the county. We are moving towards trying to ensure that social workers who come here do work here more days in the week, and that there are many more face-to-face meetings. It's interesting, isn't it? Yes, you know, they live 70 or 80 miles away. The real test is how many days in the office. If people choose to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and drive to Hereford, then they can live as far away as they wish. It's actually being in the office that's important. Councillor Howells, progress, I've mentioned the progress being made with discussions with other councils. Councillor Stark was asking about KPIs and the effectiveness of the board. I suppose for me, Councillor Stark, the issue is not about coming up with that particular data. It's about in 3 months we have in which to start really showing improvements. And someone has commented to me, you know, you can have as many strategies as you like, but you've got to actually deliver. That is the delivery. Certainly the members of the board, I think the 2 meetings that we've had in the last couple of months, the non-council people there have been very positive about the contribution. Councillor Davis, voice of the child, I think it may require some constitutional changes in order to involve children in those ways. We are the elected members. We have a responsibility for that. So I think that needs a bit more reflection and consideration. Chair, hopefully I've dealt with most of the comments. Thank you.
No. Sorry. Not allowed. Sorry, Councillor Kenyon. Please be seated. Councillor Kenyon, please be seated. No. Sorry. Had your chance. Sorry about that. Well, if you haven't, you can always consult with the leader afterwards and also the cabinet member and get your response in full and details. Sorry,
I'd like to ask the leader, he did part answer it to say we're still looking at what authorities we might work with. My specific point was about the 7 delivery boards and how that might change when talking with another authority. Presumably we have areas of strength that we need to improve, and I asked the question specifically about the delivery boards, and also could we be advised of progress in both which authority we might be talking to and how service delivery boards might be actually changing.
Thank
and
you.
That wasn't covered. Thank you.
Leader, do you want to add anything to your
I don't know
reply?
whether Councillor Toynbee is able to give any more detail on that.
Councillor Toynbee?
Councillor Toynbee, number 7.
Well, yes, it was good to see members at the meeting that we had with our commissioner on Wednesday evening, and I think she made very clear that we will be getting regular updates and briefings on progress with all areas which cover the issues that have been raised just now, and on recruitment and retention and a lot of the other issues as well. Members will see that I've provided updates in the leaders' newsletter. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I think we've finished that item, I think. Item 3, City Master Plan, page 65. Any questions? And remember, please, if you have any feeling of not being fully answered, you may always take it up with the leader or the cabinet member afterwards, please. And perhaps they'd be so kind as to distribute their answers to all the cabinet, all councillors. So, budget, city master plan. Who's on?
First speaker is Councillor Wilding, number 25.
And Councillor Kenyon, please. Right, Councillor Wilding, number 25.
Thank you, Chairman. Is the leader proud that during this administration he has seen the council address all manner of issues, but throughout we have not ignored the massive importance of the arts and culture in Herefordshire? And I'm thinking in particular about the new museum, the library, and various other measures in the city master plan which highlight the arts and culture and heritage. And they are the real things that contribute to a modern, vibrant society.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Councillor Kenyon, 27.
Councillor Kenyon.
Thank you, Chair. Can you all hear me? Thank you. I've spent a very good time. City of the Future, master plan. I prefer it to be captured here and now. My question, I'm going to get to it at the moment, but how much did the consultants cost to do this piece of work? Have they even been to Hereford? Just for example, my dear old mother, she's still going, bless her, and she said to me the other day, Jim, about going into Hereford, and she said for the first time ever, in nearly 80 years, she's a killed for that, I'm stopped going to Hereford. I'm going to stop going to Hereford. I said, why not? Because I'm not bad enough. My walking isn't bad enough to get a blue badge, but I can't walk very far. I'm not going to pay £3.80 for 2 hours of parking in Hereford, so I'm not going to go there anymore. So where's the thought in and around that? There isn't any. If you read some of the social media, or you live and die by social media, don't you? There's some of the things that some of my friends have written about it, and I've managed to stay quiet about it. I've typed things a few times and deleted them because it's pie in the sky. So my question is, how much were the consultants paid to do this piece of work, and where is the infrastructure? So very well, we can all cycle, we can all ride bikes, no, we can't all cycle on my bikes. Okay? We need to do it for everybody, not the small majority. Herefordshire is an ageing population, and I hope to get one day to get to that age. But in the meantime, this is a little pie in the sky, and I feel it's a waste of money.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Councillor Milne, number 18.
Councillor Milne.
Thank you, Chair. I'm a big fan of the draft city master plan. I consider it one of a really thoroughly progressive and imaginative blueprint for the future of the city, which offers the best chance in a generation for sustainably underpinning environmental recovery, prosperity and well-being, and I hope that it's well received when it goes to public consultation. A big part of it is about making our streets safer, and I just wanted to ask the leader for reassurance that that we will be progressing with area-wide 20 schemes in view of the fact that they so clearly reduce road accidents and encourage modal shift. It was a motion that Council passed, that Councillor Norman put forward in March 2020, I mean, it might be a question that the leader would refer to Councillor Harrington for an answer for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next one.
Next speaker, Councillor Gandy, number 3.
Councillor Gandy.
I'm not sure it's under this section because I thought you were taking each item, so it was item 11, budget. So the bit I wanted to speak on was B.
Well, this is about the city master plan.
So you're doing it in sections?
Yes. One at a time. Yeah, right. Thank you. Any more on the city master plan?
So, Councillor Lester, number 4.
Councillor Lester.
Thank you, Chairman. One of the central themes of the city master plan is an eastern river crossing. We note that the master plan is subject to consultation. If the responses that come back to the consultation reject the idea of an eastern crossing, will this administration cancel the idea in the same way they cancelled the Southern Link Road and the Western Bypass?
Thank you. Any more?
Yes, Chairman. Next speaker, Councillor Gemma Davis, number 5.
Then Councillor James. Right.
Yep.
Yes. Councillor Gemma Davis?
Yep. Yes, thank you for that. So seeing as we're sharing a story before our questions, I'd like to share the story of my 68-year-old disabled mother who lives in Saxon Gate. Saxon Gate, for those of you that have never been, is probably the worst, the newer part of it is the worst designed estate I've ever seen in my life for cars. And there are cars parking everywhere, everybody has one space. My mother absolutely would love to go into town via a bus. Because she's disabled, she can't walk to the bus that's on Ross Road. So she is absolutely over the moon that she can now walk outside and get a new bus through Sargent's. And I just wondered, because we always seem to talk about old people wanting to get into cars. Actually, my mum wants to get on a bus. She doesn't care how she gets into town, so long as she doesn't have to walk that far. So there's another example just to counter Councillor Kenyon's. But would... Jim, don't shout. It really winds me up.
Just carry on, please.
Enough, Jim. So... child. So what we tend to do is talk about all these different options. So I just wondered whether or not, from a positive perspective, Leader, whether you'd like to thank the bus companies that have been part of this change to get more operational routes into the hard-to-reach areas of the city.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Councillor Hay, number 28.
Councillor Hay. Thank you.
Next speaker, Councillor Matthews, number 23.
Councillor Matthews.
At yesterday's Cabinet meeting, Chairman...
Don't think your phone, your mic's working at the moment.
Can you hear me now?
That's better.
At yesterday's cabinet meeting, the Eastern route was...
Keep very close to the microphone, if I may advise you.
If I get any closer, I'll have it in my mouth.
Eat it.
It doesn't look very appetizing. Anyway, at yesterday's cabinet meeting, the Eastern Bridge was discussed. And the completion date, I'll stand corrected, I think it was 2032, which in my view is totally unacceptable. The fact that the routes are protected, all the paperwork from the previous application, which was approved through to planning in 1988 and appeal in 1992, all that paperwork, including the construction of the bridge, is all in council's hands at the present moment. So surely with proper management, and that's what's lacking in this council, some urgency and some determination, that should be completed within the next 4 or 5 years. Could the leader give me his views, please?
Thank you.
Last speaker, Councillor James, number 11.
Councillor James.
Thank you, Chairman. Of all things, to publish this at a time when this council is on its way out, it makes it look ridiculous. It looks ridiculous to the public. Do you think it should have been handed over to the next administration, which I will predict will be of a considerably different complexion to this one? I know it's going out to consultation, but the response so far, and I've spoken to a lot of people in Hereford City, is very, very negative. But negative for sometimes the wrong reason, the fact that it's undeliverable on this scale. It should be said at the beginning of this that we should have made it clear this is not something that's going to be achieved in a very short time or even a medium time. And we were talking about hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds in order to do this. Where's that money going to come from? And that's what the question the public are going to be asked. There is a plan, it was in the town hall at one point, showing what was going to be done 50 years ago as a sort of master plan, which is still in the drawer somewhere in the Shire or town hall. I don't know where it is. You know, people have seen these sort of things. They've seen the consultants. And Councillor earlier said about what does this cost? What does this cost? And what are we going to get for it? That's what the public will ask.
Thank you, Councillor.
Chairman, I have one more speaker now.
Right,
That's
last one.
Councillor Hewitt, number 24.
Councillor Hewitt, off you go.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I just, well, we'll see what voters think of the master plan. And as my brother says, your dream is your only scheme. And we have to look at the art of the possible on a finite planet. And I think the scheme, and so I'm just going to say that I really endorse it. But what I'd like to ask, please, is that the embedded carbon and materials with which any infrastructure is added to our precious town is closely looked at so that we have state-of-the-art, road surfaces that absolutely are going to give out as little pollution as possible and, low-impact concrete, if it's possible. I think the Romans had it right. I think we've got it wrong. So that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. And last question, I believe. Leader, responses, please.
Okay, well, I'll see what I can do. So Councillor Wilding, yes, we are enormously proud of the way we, as an administration, we have embraced art and culture and encouraged that. And the way it's done through the Stronger Towns Fund, I think, is a very positive thing. For people to engage with art and culture and to sponsor it, we need a vibrant economy as well. We need people who have the money to spend on these things and sponsor them and help them. And so it is a rounded thing rather than something concentrating on one particular element. But I think that culture is an important feature of a good society where we enjoy music, and art. We've got the drawing on, I suppose I'm probably supposed to call it sculpture or art on the side of the building and station approach. I think that's going to be replaced from time to time, and that's quite eye-catching, but that's just one example of what we're doing. Councillor Kenyon was asking about the cost of the consultants used for the city master plan, and we'll provide a written response to that. I think there are a number of themes of some of the questions are about whether this is all going to be deliverable, and it's ambitious. I think we need to be ambitious for the city, but at the same time realistic, so we mustn't overspend. There are obviously different views coming from different people about whether this is welcomed by the population. I was interested in Councillor Leicester's suggestion that we cancel the Easter River crossing. I'm pleased with his assumption that we will be in a position in a few months' time where we will still be in control and able therefore to make that decision. Councillor James was also saying this is the responsibility of the next administration, so we look forward to that as well. As far as the Eastern River crossing was concerned, I was delighted at yesterday's cabinet meeting that the peace seemed to break out, and he was suggesting, or he did say, he was very supportive of the Eastern River crossing, as well as the West as well. But certainly, I look forward to him voting in favour of that sort of thing in the future. Councillor Hay, supportive. I think you're absolutely right about working with the City Council. We really must do that. There are elections coming up. The shape of the City Council may change, and I do hope that we can continue with the good relationship we have with them, working together. There has been some consultation on the city plan. We haven't come out with this without consulting with them, and in the same way as it's going out to general consultation, it's going out to the City Council. Councillor Matthews was asking about the speed of the eastern route. I think actually Councillor Harrington referred to it being completed before the end of the, before 2030. I think that was what he was saying, so 2032 is a later date. We are trying to make that happen quicker, but in terms of we're 2013 now, the next administration will be another 4 years, and I think at the beginning of the one after that, that will be during that period when it will actually be completed, and hopefully we'll be driving across it or cycling or walking across it. I'm sure I've missed some. Councillor Davis was commenting about the buses. I don't think buses can get around Saxon Gate. I mean, you'd be bouncing from one car to the next. So I think in planning terms, we need to make absolutely sure that we are providing the opportunities for people to use public transport in those estates. I missed Councillor Roan's interjection. I think there was one where perhaps Councillor Harrington might comment about the date for completing the Eastern River crossing.
Councillor Harrington, number 6.
Thank you, Leader. Am I on? Yes, I am.
Yes,
Thank
you
you.
are.
Yes, so we have a estimated worst case scenario of 29 to 31. What we've always said is we're absolutely committed to try and reduce those timelines. Some of them are statutory, they have to be gone through. Some of them are in relation to managing a project tightly and correctly. My colleagues, the Conservative administration, had 12 years to try and bring something forward, and were not able to have anything that was ready to go when we arrived in 2019. What we're conscious, nothing that was quantified and agreed by government because the business cases had not been produced. What we're conscious of is that delays happen that we can avoid, and those delays are around how you manage a project. So, for example, we do not want a situation where someone says an officer is off on holiday, so something goes to the meeting after the meeting after. That is where we will concentrate our energy. And also in relation to funding, one of the major reasons for delays is satisfying DFT's conditions for funding. And we will do our best to try and do that in as timely a manner as we can, but we are also looking at alternative funding and a mix of options. So I'm confident that this is a shorter, much more practical, much more sensible crossing, and I don't anticipate it's going to have the problems that have beset the previous Western bypass.
Thank you. Now, we come to Hereford Museum and Art Gallery, page 66. Do you have any questions? Councillor Gandhi, off you go.
Number 3, Councillor Gandhi.
Thank you. Unlike Councillor Harrington, who takes every opportunity to have a go at the opposition, I intend to actually say something very positive about the controlling group. I visited the Museum and Art Gallery as we were invited to do so. I was very impressed with the presentation that was provided, and I have to say I was very impressed with the detail that Councillor Davis was able to give us, which made me believe that if this goes ahead, it will be a very good project, a great thing for Herefordshire, and will not only satisfy people living in Herefordshire, but should bring in much needed tourism to this county, which at the moment is lacking. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
No further speakers at the moment, Chairman.
No further speakers. In which case, Councillor Hitchener, will you respond?
Thank you, Councillor Gandhi, for your words of encouragement, and we'll do our very best to deliver. It's really important that we deliver on time and to budget. And this is something which we really want, whoever the next administration is, we feel that we have left the council is now in a much better state where actually there is decent monitoring and that councillors and cabinet members are informed. If there isn't going to be an overrunning cost, then we are told, and the officers will tell us, and we can then work together. I'm not anticipating that because we need to keep this within budget. But thank you for your positive message.
Thank you.
It might change in a moment.
Thank you. Item 5, the Eastern River Crossing, page 66. We have one here. Councillor Probert.
Number 13, Councillor Probert.
Leader, in your report 11C, you state that the Eastern River Crossing is an essential to provide an alternative route for vehicular traffic to address the resilient issues around the A49 in the city centre. How do you think that this is going to help get the HGVs out of our city centre?
Thank you. Councillor Roan.
Number 13, Councillor Roan.
Thank you, Chair. Leader, this administration with you at the helm are planning to build a road and a bridge that's going to go from Rotherwas Industrial Estate to Hampton Park Road and then onto Ledbury Road and affect the villages of Lugwardine, Bartestree, Whitestone, Mordyford, as well as the residents of Hampton Park Road. But my question is, do you believe, Leader, that living somewhere near this proposed route is an individual that may stand for election to this council solely to oppose the road and route, and at his or her first meeting following their election mutter the words, "What buttons do I have to press to stop this road?" Just as you did, Leader, in the meeting between the Conservative group and the Independent group 3 days after the election in May 2019.
Thank you. Do we have any more speakers?
No, Chairman.
Which case, Leader, will you answer, please?
Yes, I might leave Councillor Harrington to reply to Councillor Probert's question. Councillor Roan, you've mentioned some wording. Could I just have clarification? Are you saying that I said, what buttons do I have to press?
A number of us present from the Conservative group, as well as the then leader of the Independents, Councillor Matthews. Your exact wording was, "What button do I have to press to stop this road?" That was the first thing that you said to us. We'd been introduced to you. Those were the very first words I ever heard you speak. And I was taken aback, or my colleagues were taken aback, because to us it indicated that you got elected not because of a general consensus of wanting to serve the county, but for an individual sole reason that this subjective individual will be standing hypothetically for in the election to stop the proposed road.
I deny ever saying those words. I would like someone to produce those, please. There is no way that I ever said those words.
Taken.
Well,
no,
we can
well,
leave
I
that
did
to...
not. I did not say those words. Absolutely did not.
Well, I think all we can do is leave it to history and see what the archivists dig up. Thank you. Do we have... Wait, Councillor Harrington, did you want to say anything more about it? No? Anything else? Yes?
Happy to respond to that.
Please do.
Number 6, Councillor Harrington.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Councillor Probert, for your question. The issue of HGVs is important. The road that we have is a trunk road. Whether we go to the west and have 3,000 houses built around it within the proximity of a few, well, less than 100 metres, or whether they continue to go through the central corridor, which at least has less residential areas around it, is a point probably to debate and somewhat of a moot point. In relation to Lugwardine, the idea that people are trying to bypass Hereford has been repeatedly proven not to be the case. Only 7% of traffic is trying to get around it. If people are using that to get to Lugwardine, that's probably because they live in Lugwardine. If they're using it to get to Bardstreet, probably the same. The work that we'll do will help us to identify that, but all the modelling so far is showing that this route will be used as an access route and not a bypass. Similarly, in Three Elms, we would have a road going, well, it is not going around Hereford. That's always been my major criticism of the previous plans. If you're going to have a bypass, if you think that's justified, and it isn't on the 7% figure, you would go round the city. You wouldn't go through an area simply to build houses around it in a suburb. It doesn't make sense. So we'll stick to a river crossing and address our internal traffic.
Thank you, Councillor. Item now, Peter Church Primary School, item 6, page 66. Any takers?
Councillor Hewitt, number 24.
Councillor Hewitt.
Well, I'm delighted at the progress that's been made for Peter Church Primary School, and I would like to ask the leader if he's aware of the wonderful news that the design for the school now includes a crossing, which I was informed by one of the parish councillors the other day. I didn't know this was going to happen, but it's principally as a result of Highways and Education working together to produce a plan that's not in separate silos that will... But what I'd like to ask, please, of the leader is that going forward, can we make sure, please, that whenever a school is built, that a safe-to-school route is included in the design and build, and that we don't have to go through a long process of saying, please, please, please. Anyway, I'm delighted. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more takers on this particular topic? Councillor Kenyon.
Number 27, Councillor Kenyon.
Thank you.
This is about... No, this is Peter Church Primary School.
Yeah, Brookfield School's next.
Yes. Thank you. So I think we've probably covered that, have we?
Just in response to Councillor Hewitt, no, like you, I was not aware of this proposed crossing. I think children's safety is really important, and I would imagine that Peter Church is the kind of village where a 20-mile-an-hour limit would be very appropriate. Yes, such arrangements should be incorporated in plans for schools in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7, Brookfield School, page 67.
Councillor Kenyon.
Councillor Kenyon, hot off the blocks.
Number 27.
Councillor Andrews after that.
Brookfield School, I'd just like to welcome this. Brookfield School is a fantastic school that provides an amazing service, often to children at a disadvantage. And so I very much welcome this investment in our young children. And I think we should shout about this to the hilltops when Ofsted come back in to look at our children's services. We are invested in our children going forward, and this is really positive.
Thank you. Councillor Andrews, I think.
Councillor Andrews, number 11.
Oh, can you hear me now? Thank you, Chairman. Since Brookfield School is in my ward, I'm delighted that finally some improvements are going to be made on what is quite a cramped site. Thank goodness it's going to go ahead.
Thank you. Any more speakers? No,
Chairman.
Leader, do you wish to make any comments?
No, I don't need to comment, Chairman.
Thank you. Next item, item number 8, statutory accounts, page 67. Any interested parties? No. Item 9, budget and performance, page 67. Any interest? No. Item 10, big economic plan, page 67. Hands up? No. 11, housing, regulatory services and community, page 68. Any questions? Yes, Councillor Swinglehurst.
Number 12.
Thank you. So, would the leader join me in congratulating the Trading Standards team for some excellent results in prosecuting fly tippers? I note that one offender was ordered to carry out 150 hours of unpaid work in addition to fines and costs. Is there any way these 150 hours can be spent picking up some of the litter that is such an eyesore, blight and risk to wildlife in the county?
All right, thank you. Any more questioners on item 11? No. Leader, do you wish to make a quick comment on that?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Swinglehurst. Yes, I put this in my report because I feel this is a part of the council which doesn't get enough applause for the work it's done. Yes, I think that's an excellent idea, getting them to pick. Maybe we should give them 150 bags to fill, and that should be the measure of their success. Thank you.
Thank you. We now have item 12, homelessness strategy. Any takers? No, thank you. Item 13, levelling up funding grant, page 69. Any speakers? Yes, Councillor Stark.
Number 20, Councillor Stark.
By the result of the levelling up bid when we didn't get the funds for the Ross Enterprise Park. My question to the leader is, isn't it about time that we in this county looked at levelling up within Herefordshire? Because there is far too much focus on Hereford at the expense of the market towns and the rural areas. Now, I know that we were trying to get a bid for the Ross Enterprise Park, but it is unfortunate that, again, Hereford have actually won out of this and we haven't. So I would hope that the leader will actually try and change the direction of the council so there is more funds going to both the market towns and the rural areas. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor.
Next speaker, Councillor...
So we have none?
Yes, Councillor Bartlett.
Councillor Bartlett, sorry.
Number 8.
Councillor Bartlett, all yours now. Number 8.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I am a little bit, more than a little bit disappointed as well as Councillor Stark about the outcome of the levelling up funding grant. So, for me, I'm very pleased that the city have got the grants, the money that's coming directly from the government, so we don't actually have the ability to always say where we're going to spend the funding. And it is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous cost for the local authorities to have to bid against each other for these pots of levelling up money. And I think the LGA have calculated it costs council something like £30,000 per bid to do this. And our officers work really hard on these bids. And I too am very upset that none of the market towns, whether that was Ross, Ledbury or Leominster, were successful in their bids. So, whilst I see Ross is in the report, can the leader assure us that this good work on all three of the bids, Ledbury, Ross and Leominster, that all this good work will not be wasted and every opportunity will be taken to ensure that this good work and is put towards any opportunity when funding comes along to make these projects a reality, please?
Thank you. And I think that is the last speaker on that topic. Leader, would you like to have a response, please?
Thank you. I think the council is united in its view that the market towns should be encouraged, that we should be levelling up within the county, that it's unfortunate that no money went to Ross. I mean, we applaud the fact that we've got money for Hereford itself, but it should be wider. And I think the council, as you said, it's a case of we're not pushing water uphill on this, and we should be working towards it in the future. And yes, Councillor Bartlett, this work has been done on Ross, it's been done on Ledbury and Leominster. We do now have these projects ready to push, and hopefully the government will come up with some additional capital financing to enable us to do this work. And from the Ross perspective, we are looking at how we might partner with local businesses to move this forward, so it becomes a council and private enterprise venture. Thank you.
Thank you. And item 14, the cost of living crisis, page 70, last item on the leader's report. Any takers? Yes, Councillor Lester.
Number 4.
Actually, Chairman, it's not item 31, it was item 32. Item 33, sorry. In conclusion.
Sorry, you've confused me.
Well, I'd like to speak on the last paragraph, 33 and 34.
Well, off you go then.
Thank you, thank you. A question for the Leader of the Council, nobody else. Being a councillor is a tough job, whether you're new to it or whether you've been doing it for some time. And I take the point that you made about the Eastern Link and whether it will be rejected or not by whoever forms the new administration. It's quite a funny thing to say, but I think that overwhelmingly you'll get the feedback that people won't want it. But the question I've got really is that obviously some councillors are naturally retiring. They will not come back to this council. And would you agree with me that those councillors who've put in a huge amount of dedication and effort over many years, some more than others, should be commended for what they do? It's a tough job, and we always find disagreement in one way or another, but it's the dedication that members serve to this council that I think should be acknowledged, and I would ask him his views on that matter.
Thank you.
Chairman, is that the last of the questions?
It is the last of the questions on the Leader's report, yes. Not
yes.
the last item on the agenda altogether.
So, yes, Councillor Lester, absolutely right. It's an extraordinarily demanding job, but hugely fulfilling. I would thank all the councillors, all the committees, the number of hours that people spend on it, the learnings and everything. As I mentioned in my report, this is my last report to Council in this administration, and it has been an interesting ride. As you may recall, as I was elected, Councillor Johnson explained the decision of the Conservative group to abstain at that meeting when I was elected. Councillor Johnson, I'm afraid, is not, I don't know whether he's had to go.
I think he may have had to leave the meeting.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I was going to mention, and I will anyway. So he told the Hereford Times that he was really concerned. He asked, was I an extreme right-winger or an unreformed Marxist or even in the centre ground? And it's good that I have the opportunity to mention Tony for whom this will, I think, be his last council. Tony, I hope you have been reassured during my term of office. You certainly have not agreed with all that this administration has done, but hopefully you have seen some of the good work. Another member I have is Councillor Shaw, who at the first council meeting demanded that I resign and refer myself to the Committee on Standards because my address was not disclosed. Nigel, you are not standing again. You will be missed. Who will goad Councillor Harvey in your absence and ask such good questions? And who will educate us on the finer points of the Constitution? I wish to pass on one other anecdote which I attribute to Annie Brooks. In my early days, I relied heavily on Annie because I really didn't have much idea about how the council ran. You might say, nor did anybody else. I was saying to Annie that I was going to change around responsibilities of cabinet. Her deadpan response was straight out of Yes Minister, along the lines of, well, you could do that, leader, before suggesting another way of approaching this. I hope that many others will be standing again because corporate memory and continuity is so important. Councillor Gandhi, I understand you are standing again. Not tempted by a call back to the council you used to lead then? Was that Redcar or Redbridge? I'm not sure if it... It's not, I'm not sure if anybody else knows where it was, but well, we all now know where it was, Councillor Gandhi, thank you. So as we...
Bit of corporate memory coming in there, I think.
So as we enter this pre-election period, my hope is that we have a civilised campaign. I'm actually very disappointed that the dirty trick seemed to have started with Councillor Rowan's comment about what I said. I did not say that. I'm deeply, deeply disappointed that we start this campaign with such dirty things, and I hope that doesn't continue. I hope we have serious debate and some good humour. So thank you, councillors, for the opportunity you have given me to lead this council. It has been an honour and a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Leader, and I hope you've enjoyed your time in office. I think we'll have a short break now. 10-minute intermission. Maybe we switch off the live stream. I think a lot of people do need a short break. Fine. Thank you. We're on the stream again now. Item 11, motions on notice, pages 91 to 102. Before we commence the debate on the motions, I ask members to be succinct with their comments and to avoid repeating those points already made, so that those members who wish to speak have every opportunity to do so. The report containing the motions to be considered at this meeting is at page 91 of the agenda pack. Council has one motion to consider. I will identify a proposer and a seconder to move the motion. A debate will be undertaken by members on the motion and any amendments received. I will then call a vote on any amendments and the final recommendation. Motion 1, River Wye bylaws. Councillor Swinglehurst, you are the proposer. Please introduce your motion. You have 5 minutes for that.
Councillor Swinglehurst, number 12.
Thank you. We are not apart from nature, we are a part of nature. We give ourselves rights, so why should we not extend rights to nature? In a speech to the London School of Economics, Inga Anderson, Executive Director of United Nations COVID Response, called for the human race to rethink its relationship with the natural world. This is what this motion is intended to promote. The idea that we need to see the kinship of all things and to understand that in protecting nature, in giving rights to nature, we are protecting and giving rights to ourselves. We give rights to companies, to inanimate corporate entities, distinct from its individual decision makers. Why not to something living and vital? This is not going to fix the river. It is not a magic bullet, but it is an opportunity to speak with a single voice and to say that we stand with the why. I discussed this motion with the barrister Paul Powsland, a specialist in environmental law and a campaigner for his own river, the Rodding. He said that whilst the mechanism of a bylaw is not as good or as strong as parliamentary law, it is what is within our grasp, and it can be transformative. We are not alone. In the USA, 36 municipalities have passed laws to recognise the rights of nature. In New Zealand, Australia, Canada and Bangladesh, rivers have rights. Only this week, Lewes Council passed a motion calling on them to explore and develop the concept of rights of the river, in their case the Ouse, and declare the rights of the river within 2 years. What we are doing here today is an attempt to cut straight to the chase by using a bylaw. This approach has been tried in the UK by Frome Town Council in 2018. It was knocked back by the government with the argument that there are already laws to protect the river. However, it provides a useful template for an application and includes at paragraph 9 that the river is owed a duty of care and it shall be unlawful for any natural person, company or other legal person or government to cause any pollution or nuisance to the river or otherwise infringe the rights recognised in this bylaw. As with bylaws of all types, there would be consequential opportunity to respond to infringement in a variety of ways, including but not limited to fines and a restoration order. I would request that the administration refer to this document for further detail and insight into the scope and potential application of such a bylaw. There are laws and there are rights. There are laws that are supposed to protect the River Wye. There are regulations that protect the River Wye. But the River Wye does not enjoy the right to be free from pollution, to be a thriving ecology, to be able to flow. And given that the river is not free from pollution, is not a thriving ecology, and is not able to flow, I am asking the Executive to make clear that the laws that protect the river need to be matched with rights. We understand the importance of human rights, but we are blind to the rights of the world around us. We are anthropocentric in our thinking, and this has led to disaster. We can't change the world, but we can stand up for our bit of it, and for the River Wye, which deserves to have the right to be. I would like to pay tribute to the groups who are fighting for the river, the citizen scientists, the protesters, the social media posters, the journalists, the academics, the anglers and the swimmers, CPRE, CPRW, FOUW, FOLW, FOL, WSA, STW and others. You are the voice of the river, and I thank you. I fully acknowledge that the administration, and in particular the Cabinet Commission, is working with urgency and determination to find a solution, and this is not intended to be a distraction from the important work that they are doing. It is, I hope, a complementary initiative that gives all of the membership a chance to show that the Council as a whole are united on this issue, as I hope, trust and believe that we are, that whatever happens in May, we will not break stride with the progress being made, and we will not break faith with the river. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Now, the motion now needs to be seconded, and I believe Councillor Hewitt will second the motion.
Number 24, Councillor
Councillor Hewitt, and do you wish to speak now or after the debate?
I'd like to speak after the debate, if that's
After the
possible.
debate, you shall have your time. And then we will now move to the debate, and members are entitled to speak once during the debate for 3 minutes. The Vice Chairperson will be keeping a list of members who wish to speak during the debate. Please can members indicate to the Vice Chairperson if they intend to speak. And remember, you have 3 minutes each. Who is wishing to speak?
First speaker, Councillor Norman, number 18.
Councillor.
Thank you very much indeed, and thank you to the proposer, who I think has made a very eloquent case for this motion, and I agree with every word that she's spoken there. I think it is hugely important that we rebalance that relationship between us and the environment that we live in, and recognise its huge importance, not only in its own right, which is what we're essentially talking about, but its huge importance to us and our health, our well-being within the context that we all live. We are slowly but surely beginning to recognise the enormous economic value of our environment and how important it is to look after it and care for it. And I think what's now long overdue, if you like, is to recognise that absolutely intrinsic and inherent value to us in many, many other ways as well. It's beginning to happen. All too often, though, it gets overridden by the economic imperative. Short term, all too often that is the case, instead of recognising that if we think more in the long term, we will appreciate you know, how damaging, in fact, that can actually be. And I also just quickly wanted to agree with the recognition of the many groups and organisations who've been pushing for a better recognition and valuing of our environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor.
Next speaker, Councillor Stark.
Councillor
number
Stark.
20. So number 20.
Thank you, Chair. Everyone knows in this room that I am a great supporter of the river and trying to protect it as much as possible. I was approached to second this motion, and I must admit I have reservations on it, and I'll tell you why. I do believe in the sentiment of it and trying to protect the river as much as possible, but I'm worried about the implications for the Council of trying to enforce such a motion. For example, when we say the river has a right to flow, what happens when there's a drought? I'm not saying that's necessarily for the why, but let's say we're looking at rivers in the southeast and they run dry. How would we enforce such a bylaw? So I'm concerned about the implementation and practicality of it for the Council, because it is still a bylaw that we would have to enforce. So if the proposer or the seconder could cover that, then I'd like that reassurance. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor.
Next speaker, Councillor Kenyon, number 27.
Councillor Kenyon.
Thank you, Chairman. I first read this, I thought crackpot lunatics. But actually, when I read into it a bit more, it's not about these bylaws, because they would never be enforced. It's about the message we send out. So if we're sending the message down to Westminster, it's about the message, not about the bylaws. So I'm fully supportive of this. And I walked along the river not so long ago. It's fantastic. My wife swims it all the time. Let's get these rivers sorted out, but let's give it a bit of protection. It might sound to, to Joe Public out there a bit crazy, but sometimes you have to do crazy things to get the result you want. So I'm fully supportive of this.
Thank you, Councillor.
Next speaker, Councillor Matthews, number 23.
Councillor Matthews.
Mr. Chairman, we're very lucky to have this beautiful river running through our county. And I would like to thank Councillor Swindlehurst and others who've put so much time and effort into trying to achieve some improvements to the terrible state of it that it's in at the present time. Therefore, the True Independents fully support this motion and wish you every success and we'll give you all the support possible in the future, because I think it's essential that we keep up the pressure on government, because that's the only way to get something done about this worrying issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Next speaker, Councillor Shaw, number 14.
Councillor Shaw.
Sorry, Chair, I only just put my hand up.
Haven't caught you short, have we? As you might say.
Well, I'll be brief, yes. My wife and I canoe the Wye and other rivers quite regularly. And I've seen with my eyes and smelt with my nose the issues that are now being understood by the county and the country more widely. When any incident happens, any pollution incident, or the EA is meant to be the enforcer, we sadly know that it doesn't have the staff or resources to respond to the myriad of requests that are made against it. And it said so. I think to give our officers some power to issue a minor thing, I suppose, a penalty enforcement notice or something like that, for damaging our waterway in our county, it may seem a small step, but so important in signifying our thinking and the conscience of the council in doing all it can in defending our unique resource. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Oh, stirring words for possibly your last speech, yeah?
Next speaker, Councillor Harvey, number 5.
Councillor Harvey.
That came upon me quickly. Okay. I thought there was a queue. I'm supportive of the sentiments behind this notice of motion. I'm in favour of treating the river and treating all nature as if it had rights already. When this notice of motion was alerted to me, I went and had a look at what was involved in actually creating a bylaw, and it's an administrative mountain you have to climb. So I agree with Councillor Stark that, you know, I think there's a principle here that we'd all want to get behind. But I know that there are also many councillors in this chamber that I have listened to over the years who have taken exception to hollow or to empty motions or suggestions which we can't actually enforce or we can't actually put into effect. I would far rather that we treated the problem of the pollution of our river, looking at it through the spectacles of assuming it had these rights, without us having to go through the administrative and bureaucratic mountain climbing that the whole bylaw passing, you know, creating, consulting, passing process actually foists upon us. And given the resources that we have, I do wonder whether, having read the process that needs to be gone through and how much work our officers would need to do, how much consultation, not just within this county, but beyond the boundary of this county, setting a bylaw requires of us. I wonder whether that resource wouldn't be better put to actually putting our shoulder to the problem itself and continuing to pursue a resolution of that. So I am entirely behind the sentiment here. I just question whether the process and what we would end up with at the other end of it and how enforceable it would be is actually worth the effort when we could make an assumption and act as if the river already had these rights? And that would be my preference.
Thank you, Councillor. Next.
Next speaker, Councillor Marsh, number 9.
Councillor Marsh.
Yes, I welcome Councillor Harvey's idea that we treat the river as if it already has rights. I, like her, am not quite sure whether the bylaw would work, but as this motion merely calls on the executive, I would still feel that it continues to send a positive message about the way this council feels about the river. And just as Councillor Harvey was speaking, it did occur to me that I would so much love it if in the local plan we were able to say that we did feel nature has rights. So often trees are cut down by developers speculatively, and there is absolutely no protection for it. And again, I know our options may be limited. I'm glad that biodiversity net gain is coming in, but if we can take opportunities as we find them to say that we do feel nature has rights, and indeed that is one of the basic protections for people, that those rights, I would be pleased.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have any more?
No, Chairman, no.
Councillor Lester.
Councillor Lester, number 4.
Thank you. Yes, I would like to thank Councillor Swinglehurst for this motion being put forward. I think this decision, whatever will be voted on, will be an issue for the next administration to clearly decide upon how they should go forward with it. But the point is, any initiative that this council can focus its mind on to ensure that this issue remains a top priority, and any mechanism that this council can use in order to make sure that this is a top priority is obviously a thing worth doing. Now, people may or not may disagree, that this may have the view that it's just an empty gesture, or we should be focused on doing all the things that we're doing now, but this council has to use its discretion to find every and any way it can to emphasise the point about just how important this river is to not just to nature and wildlife, but the whole essence of Herefordshire as itself. So I welcome this initiative. I welcome the motion, and I will be voting in favour of it. And I thank Councillor Swinglehurst once again for championing the environment and how important it is to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Next speaker, Councillor Wilding, number 25.
Councillor Wilding.
Thanks, Chair. So I support this. If we didn't do stuff because it was difficult, then we'd never get anywhere. We declared a climate and ecological emergency in 2019 and 2020, and if anything embodies climate and emergency, it is the health of the river. So totally support it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Councillor Gemma Davis, number 5.
Councillor Davis.
Yeah, super quick. Of course, yeah, I will support it. I totally agree with the sentiment that we've just talked about, which is actually this is just giving it to the executive to have a think about whether it's possible. But I just wanted to see if we could get because I know of course he's going to be watching this, but whether Bob Mortimer wanted to support us with this bylaw, because I don't know if any of you have watched his fishing programme, but he has officially declared the River Wye as his favourite river in the UK. So let's see if we can get Bob involved.
Well, opportunity for you. Thank you.
Chairman, Councillor Wilding wants to speak again.
He doesn't have the right to, I'm afraid. No, sorry. Tempting as it might be. Who else wishes to speak? Councillor James.
Number 11, Councillor James.
Thank you, Chairman. I support this, but I've been trying to think how we could actually find somebody, because if we could, I looked at the right to flow, and I'm trying to think now, what scenario would we have where we could be imposing some penalty on someone? We couldn't because there isn't enough rain. Perhaps we could fine the god or whatever, etc. If someone diverts the water, well, the Environment Agency have got those powers anyway, and I don't think they would allow us to, take over that. The only idea would be extraction. Now, the Environment Agency control that, and they, people have a license to extract, and they police that fairly well, actually, as from my experience. So, I'd love to know, how we could have powers under this to do something that would be meaningful. I'll support it because, we're supporting a sentiment. But, I don't think it's going to make much difference.
Thank you. Do we have any more speakers?
No further speakers, Chairman.
Councillor Hewitt.
Number 24.
So much. I think there's
3 minutes, by the way.
Quite an interesting set of challenges in the room. And when I first looked at this, I thought, well, there will be challenges. But a little like when you don't have a 5-year housing plan, NDPs get deprioritised. And my thought about Councillor James's challenge about the right to flow, blockages and extraction, if we were in the situation of a drought and extraction from the river continued to the detriment of the biodiversity in the river, we would have an extra bylaw then to say to the EA, hang on, but we've got a bylaw. So that's the first one. I'd also like to say we need to speak about the value of the river to us, but what about us being of value to it? Our anthropocentric approaches to nature have been inadequate in restoring and preventing further decline in biodiversity. We acknowledge the need for a unifying and relation-based framework that will strengthen humankind's responsibility to protect and sustain biodiversity. And yes, we did sign a climate and ecological emergency in this room. A fair and just legal system that protects the rights of humans and of nature is essential to help solve the biodiversity crisis. And I'm just going to, that's a sort of piece that was typed out, but what I'd like to say is that the law doesn't really help us very much when there's sort of arguable balances on either side. And one side of the story, for instance, when we're talking about sustainability, is weighted very heavily in favour of the human voice. But I want to do this here, I want to make that sort of profit, I want to X, Y, and Z. What happens is that the voiceless, and in that position, we would be, as a council, we would have somebody who has a right to speak, who's ecologically trained, and can actually say, okay, in this situation, this is what the river says. So the right to flow, it seems crazy, doesn't it? Because you think rivers always flow, but in fact, the Dore River dried up completely this summer, and it was one of the saddest sights. And that was drought, it wasn't due to people blocking, but the Environment Agency say about the Dore, it does not support good, so we have to remove impediments to the improvement of our biodiversity by having a different and more river-centred approach. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. We have the right of reply. And by the way, have we received any amendments?
No, we haven't.
No amendments have been received, and therefore the proposer of the motion now has the right of reply to the debate, and you have 3 minutes for that.
Councillor Swindlehurst, number 12.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, members, for the debate. I do totally appreciate the points that have been raised, particularly by Councillor Harvey and Councillor Stark, as to the practicalities of this. But this is a motion calling on the executive to consider making an application. It is not the application itself, and I would be fully expectant that after due consultation with the Monetary Office of Legal Services that there would be amendments and changes and suggestions and different ways of doing this, because clearly, in order to make it possible to navigate, it may need to change, and that's fine. So really, it is about setting a sense of direction and a philosophical point about how we relate to nature, which I think members have picked up on really, really well. The other point, I suppose, is you know, how would it work in practice? Again, I think that's something for sort of later in the day, how it's scoped. Happily, we're not completely pioneers here, although were we to make this possible, we would be the first county to successfully do it in this country, which is which would be good. It's part of a kind of growing movement, and I still think it's a very worthwhile thing to support, and I do hope that other members feel the same way. And thank you for the debate.
Thank you, Councillor. Now we move to the vote. I will call the vote, and members are asked to clearly raise their hand to indicate if they are for, against, or abstain for the motion. All in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? That is won completely conclusively, and well done. Undoubtedly carried. Now, item 12, very exciting. Full council meeting dates 2023-24. The next meeting of council is the annual meeting on the 19th of May at 10:30 a.m., not perhaps as p.m. as some of you might have in your papers. The council is asked to agree the meeting dates of 2023-24 as printed on the agenda. 28th of July, 13th of October, 8th of December 2023, 9th of February, 8th of March and 24th of May, the annual meeting, and 2024. Now, moving to the vote. Please can members vote for, against, or abstain? For? Against? Or abstain? Right. That's fine. Anyway, that motion is that motion is carried. Closing remarks. First of all, I would like to thank members of the public and councillors for their attendance at today's meeting. The next scheduled meeting of the council is the annual meeting at 10:30 a.m. on Friday, the 19th of May. But first, I would like to have a few remarks myself, please. And I think we should start with our Democratic Services team, who have worked extremely hard to get this place set up and have been very resourceful in managing the whole meetings, and I am indebted to them very deeply, as I think we all are, and I'd certainly like to thank them. And of course, I include Claire and our Chief Executive in that as well. So many, many thanks. John Kilman, Matt Evans, all the team, they have worked extremely hard and they have made things possible where they seem probably very unlikely to happen at one stage. They've been a tremendous support to me and I think to the whole council. So many, many thanks. Yes. Well, it was rather bleak, wasn't it, at times in the three counties, with all the restrictions we had upon us, like having every door open and well, it was like being in a deep freeze half the time. And then, I'd like to thank all members and officers for all their hard work under often trying circumstances, including COVID and its effect upon our meeting places, upon our county, and our council meetings altogether. And I'm pleased to say thank you to you all for a generally civilized and respectful level of debate. And it has been a great privilege and a pleasure to be your chairman for these last 4 years. It's been a very interesting time, and I know difficult times in many cases, but adversity breeds toughness, I think. And I wish you all very well for the future, whatever that may hold. And I look forward to seeing some of us being back here again. I know some of you are opting out, and for those who are opting out, well, thank you very much for all your services. and the amazing amount of time you all put in. It's very impressive, I think. And I do hope that those who are trying to get elected again will get re-elected, and we'll have an interesting council next administration. See what happens. Before we go, I just have a few words to read to you, penned by a certain Mr. William Shakespeare, or was it the 17th Earl of Oxford? It could be. See Councillor Lester for further information. He may be writing a book one day about it, I think, too. But these are the words that I think are quite appropriate. Our revels now are ended. These are actors, as I foretold you, were all spirits, and are melted into air, into thin air, and, like the baseless fabric of a vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yea, all which it inherit, shall dissolve, and, like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a rack behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. Thank you all, and good luck for the future.